Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any of our platforms. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing details. Today we're discussing a 2021 model year launch. This is the Glashütte Original PanoMaticLunar, 40mm in stainless steel. It features a green gradient dial made in-house at Glashütte Original's Dial Factory in Pforzheim. At 40mm in diameter in steel, the watch measures only 13.1mm thick, and from lug tip to lug tip, the distance across the wrist is 47.2mm with a 20mm spacing between the lugs. We'll pop open the clasp, throw the watch on the wrist. My wrist is 16 centimeters circumference and it wears nicely. It is slim enough to fit underneath the cuff, especially with the sloped and slightly concave bezel. You can see this down the barrel shot shows that the lugs are nowhere near the edge of my wrist. And I believe you could wear this watch well on a wrist as small as 14 centimeters in circumference. And remember, I'm pulling the strap fairly tight just to show how it would sit if it were securely fastened to the wrist. You may wear your watch looser. The strap features a wonderful suede nubuck leather texture, large rectangular scale alligator leather, a fairly expensive cut of the gator. In a medium brown, it has some stuffing or bolstering to give it volume, a monotone stitch, a folded edge. You can see calfskin on the bottom. We have a single folding clasp in matching steel. You can see it has both polish and satination. It is a friction fit snap shut for security. Sounds good, feels good, and you can see it's still fairly fresh with the original packing tape on it. And Geo often uses a screw fixed buckle so that the strap cannot pull out of the buckle accidentally and lead to tragedy. Now the watch has a lovely case with lugs that are stepped out, not notched the way Longa lugs are stepped out with a notch between case and lug, but they do have a little bit of definition that you wouldn't have on, say, a blended lug Calatrava or Portugieser. The case is mostly cylindrical with slightly recessed case back. The bezel has a slight vertical lip, then a slope, and then a final flange that abuts the sapphire. It's all polished. Lug hoods are polished. Case flanks and lugs are polished. We have a pusher adjuster here for the moon phase complication, and we have a Geo branded crown. The dial is actually lacquered, so a lacquer fade is used to create this gradient. Glashütte Original is an East German watchmaker in, surprise, Glashütte, state of Saxony. And historically, this is the company that represents all of the historic East German watchmaking out of Glashütte. So when Germany lost World War II and the Soviets took the east of the country, they collectivized all of the watchmaking operations into the GUB, the Glashütte Uhrenbetriebe. And the GUB emerged from the communist years, still intact with a lot of talent on hand, renaming itself Glashütte Original in the 1990s. One of those companies collectivized into the GUB was a Lange und Söhne, meaning that this company is the true successor to the original Lange. The Lange that we know as Lange is more of an upstart using the name, which from what I've heard may or may not have been authorized by these guys. So this is the real heritage company, dating back to the original 1845 foundation of watchmaking in Glashütte by F.A. Lange. So this is the real deal. And it's a very wearable real deal. Not only do they have their factory, they make their own tools, they train their own tool makers, and they have their own dial manufacturer, which is in Pforzheim. As I mentioned, it is a gradient dial, so a metallic base but with lacquers to create the green fade. Now there's a concentric pattern on both the primary dial and the subdial. You can see the watch does have a hacking or stop seconds function. We have a panorama datum or outsized date, and you can see not only does it have double discs and not only does it have a quickset mechanism, but those discs are flush, which is a real distinction in terms of watchmaking and engineering in the world of double-digit dates. I even like the fact that they've gone with a wonderfully serify font. And then we have, of course, the moon phase. There's actually some lume. You might be surprised that you can read the watch in the dark. Not super accurately, but you got a general approximation of the hours and the minutes. Now, when you flip it all over, you might think, maybe I should wear this watch upside down because it is spectacular. This is caliber 9002 with a duplex black polished steel swan's neck fine adjustment mechanism. 42-hour power reserve, 4 Hertz beat rate, chronometer style 5-position adjustment, and it pivots on 47 joules. You saw the quick set system, you saw the hacking, you saw the moon phase. Now you can see the 3/4 rotor which you'll appreciate is in the same plane as the rest of the bridges. This keeps the watch thin, but it also prevents the rotor from blocking your view of half of the movement. There's a lot of fine finish here, as we've got both polished and fire-blued screws. We've got snailing in the track below the rotor, stripes on the rotor and the bridges. We've got beveling, as you can see well from this angle. It's also on the full balance bridge, which braces the balance from both sides. We have that black polished, probably diamond paste finished or zinc plate rubbed, steel swan's neck fine adjustment mechanism. Then you can see the bridge underneath has also been finished, and we have a polished lever and escape wheel, so it is quite accomplished. There's also freehand engraving on each side of the balance, which is a beautiful element done with a burr-in by hand and eye, so no two of these will ever be exactly alike. All of this, and at 50 meters, it is surprisingly water resistant for a dress watch, which is generally dress watches are 20 to 30 meters. This is 50, and again, 42-hour power reserve at a 4 hertz beat rate. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.